How's it going, everyone? So this video is a little bit old, but I figured I would still get up the footage. So this was my training from last week, the beginning. I think the Monday was August 19th, if I remember correctly. So this was actually my taper week. And if you're not familiar with how I do tapers, the intensity doesn't drop at all. If anything, it actually increases. So the intensity being a percentage of my 1 rep max for pretty much everything, but the volume drops. So I would usually do on this specific wave, I was doing 4 sets of 5 reps essentially, and on this the 4th week on my taper week, I did 2 sets. So I pretty much just cut my volume in half. Again, there's dozens of different ways you can mess with volume. It's just kind of how I specifically set it up for this specific wave for me, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it, and this was a 5-pound PR for me. The form's a little bit iffy to see here because I did shoot in like up and down mode and not horizontal, but I did hit 325 for 2 sets of 5, and the previous week I only hit 320 for 5, so it was a 5-pound PR for me. And overall, I'm feeling more healthy with kind of experimenting with some mobility movements, both pre-workout and kind of on my off days, to ensure that my knee is getting better. So squats this past week felt really good, and then I did some more assistance work as well on there. And then on Tuesday I moved on to deadlifts. I also benched this day, but I didn't get any footage. So this was my top set. This was 315 for 5. My plan going on for deadlifts now, since I decided not to compete in a powerlifting meet in November, I mostly just switched back to conventional pulling and decided to back off my volume a little bit for squats to try to just let my knee heal up. But anyways, I'm not competing, so it kind of takes some load off my shoulders as far as having to pull sumo. I'm definitely weaker at the moment pulling conventional, and I think I'll probably always be naturally stronger with sumo because I do have really short arms and kind of limited ankle range of motion. But I am working on it, and again, the best way to work on it is just to pull conventional, right? So what I've been doing for deadlifts this past wave was just pulling a best of 5, and then so my best of 5 was 315, and then backing off for 2 sets at 90% of whatever that was. So again, that'll allow me to get like a PR set. It will also allow me to get a little more volume in. So I'm going to do the same thing. I just kind of set up my new wave, but I think I'm actually going to deadlift twice a week and have like a 3-day. So again, I do my best set of 3 and then do a couple of sets at 90% of that, and have like a higher rep day, like a 6 or 8 day. So I'll be pulling with more frequency and seeing how that goes. But I do feel like I can recover from conventional pulling really well. It's really the sumos that kind of beat me up for a while, and that could be a result of just using more weight. But that's kind of my goal for deadlift. So I took Wednesday off, did some conditioning work, and this was front squat. So this was like my full lower body day, and I always try to do I was doing front squats this wave. So this was my PR. I've never actually hit 255 at all, and I hit 255 for a triple. You definitely see my thoracic right here going into that's pretty dramatic, rounding. So I'm not going to pretend like that's good form right there. But again, I just do have some thoracic issues there, ankle mobility and things like that, and that's one of the reasons why I do front squat. So this is my roommate here going for a 275 for a triple on front squat. So he has a really good front squat technique. It's mainly attributed to his shoulder range of motion, kind of the reason why I don't have very good front squat technique. So his front squat's a pretty good percentage of his back squat. So it's been fun to work out with him this week. We just kind of got school started and stuff. So it's always fun to have a squat partner. Then, okay, so in similar fashion with what I've been doing with my deadlifts, also with my squats, I hit like a best of 3 on this day, and then I'll back off to 90% of whatever that was and hit volume. So I was trying to do 4 more sets of 3 at that 90%. So it's a really good technique to use. You're kind of using the RPE scale, or whatever people want to call that now. I think it's kind of overblown how important that is. It's kind of more like common sense. You're kind of just hitting one really heavy set and then backing off just to get more volume. And obviously, you're going to have to back off the weight a little bit to get that volume in. So this was my final training session of the week. This was Saturday. These were my heavy squats. So I believe it was 4 sets of 2 to 4 reps. And I wanted to show you guys something here I thought was really important. You see the speed even when I'm warming up. That's like 2 plates. Very, very light for me, like 50% of my 1 rep. But I do it like it's a 1 rep max. No matter how much weight's on the bar, I'm always trying to emulate it like it's heavy. So even this 275 for a single, I don't baby it up. I come up as fast as I possibly can. So it's something that people really need to work on. That I see people tend to treat their warm-up sets like they're kind of just haphazardly, passively moving around and not actually prepping themselves for a heavy set. So as far as the working stuff, the previous week I hit a 240 for 2. So going in, my goal today was to hit on this day was to hit 245 for 2, and this was my top set of the day. So this was a 245, and again, I was really going to be happy with a double. I wasn't just like conceding with a double. If it felt good, I was going to keep going, but that first rep there I thought was a little shallow. I could tell, so it really kind of pissed me off. So I definitely hit it for a double. I felt pretty good afterwards. I felt like my depth was adequate on all the last 3 reps. So the 345 for 4 though was a huge PR for me. That depth right there on the last rep is more than okay with me. So again, went in with the expectation of hitting it for 2 and actually hit it for 4. So that's always really good news. And then I followed that up the same weight. I would usually back down a little bit, maybe like 5 or 10 pounds for maybe my final set if I already hit a huge PR. But again, I wanted to see if I could hit this for another double and actually hit it for a triple. So I finished my week really good. And that was it for this week, guys. I'll try to get some more upper body footage for next week. I'm kind of switching up my wave, which I'll probably talk about next week. So hopefully you like the footage, guys, and I'll see you next week.